from the oldest city in the USA, St. Augustine tonight, with our guests,
Floyd Phillips, Kyle Goodwin,
musical guests,
Chelsea Sadler,
and your host, Jorge Rivera.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. I warned you, so don't tell me that you weren't warned that we'd be back. We want to start our show, as always, thanking Foxtrot Studios for the wonderful banner, and Garrett Brothers Home and Decor and Collectibles for the furniture you'll see up here, and also today's caterer. A wonderful food for our guests is from La Herencia Cafe, the American Cuban cuisine. Yes, and to all my friends out there, happy Cinco de Mayo! Yes. Oh yeah, woo-ha! Viva Mexico! Yes, and that's why I wore this lovely, colorful tie, because, you know, when you look at Mexican pottery and a lot of other things, you see a lot of colors, you know? It's like South Beach, Miami, you know, on steroids. For a lot of people who see the Cinco de Mayo, the mistake is that they think that Cinco de Mayo is Independence Day in Mexico, and it's not. What happened in Cinco de Mayo was that there was a battle. The French were occupying Mexico. There was a war, and France thought that they could put this empire, a piece of their empire, because France was really big at the time. So they came and they invaded Mexico over some money that was owed also to Britain and Spain, but Mexico was able to resolve it with Mexico and Spain. But the French said, nah, we're not going to give you installments. We're just going to invade. So at the beginning of that war, where France came in, there was a huge battle in the town of Puebla, Mexico. And 2,000 Mexicans who were ill-equipped and not very good at soldiering faced 6,000 well-trained French soldiers from their army, and they were able to defeat them. This gave the Mexicans this incredible morale boost, and the war went on for 4 more years. But what you're celebrating in the Cinco de Mayo is basically that battle in Puebla, and the general was Zaragoza Seguin, in case you need to find that out. Now, in the United States, if you go to Mexico, Cinco de Mayo isn't a big thing. Puebla, yes, because that's where the battle happened. But the rest of Mexico, it's mentioned here and there. In the United States, it's huge. Mexican beer just pours. Margaritas just come in the bars. Tequila is shot straight up, okay? Because everyone wants to celebrate. So what Cinco de Mayo has become for Mexican-American culture in the United States is the same thing that Puerto Rican Day is in New York, or St. Patrick's for Celtic culture, or October 1st for the Germans. So that's what it's become. But it's not Mexico's Independence Day, which is a holy day in Mexico. So if you like chalupas and flautas and chimichangas, and you like tacos and you like burritos, this is the day to indulge. Now, for those who are not into the Cinco de Mayo, yesterday was Star Wars Day. Oh, let's give them a hand. Come on. Star Wars Day. Okay. Now, this is the funny part. Why is Star Wars Day? Well, let me go back to this. They started kind of celebrating it around 2008, but it's, you know, sporadic around the country. Then the Canadians stepped up and kind of really made a big thing out of it in 2011. In 2013, Disney turned it into a Star Wars Day. And in 2015, dig this, the astronauts at the space station all watched the movie Star Wars on the space station to celebrate the day. So now you say, why the 4th? Because, okay, all right, this is bad comedy, but it's, may the force be with you. May the 4th be with you, okay? That's why. So now they made a movie called The Revenge of the Sith, so they're thinking of celebrating also May the 5th. And celebrate all the bad characters, the evil characters for the dark side. You celebrate the good side, the fourth side on the 4th, and supposedly, and then some people want Star Wars to be celebrated the whole month of May. Isn't that wonderful? I'm sorry if my decor is not proper for, I don't look like a stormtrooper. But that's the story behind that whole Star Wars thing, and I think it's going to be, now that Disney bought the rights and they're making all these movies, I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, you know, happy, what you call it, happy Cinco de Mayo, happy Star Wars, Mother's Day is coming soon, so hello to everybody. Another thing I noticed was, you know, we had the hurricane in October, I think it was, Matthew, and you know, there's still places, we're in the month of May, there's still places that have not recovered. There's still places where the drywalls and the carpenters are there, where they're throwing floors, and there are many businesses that have left. In my neighborhood, well, my new neighborhood, there's a guy down the street that brought his house up. And it's just amazing. This thing looked like it was floating. And he's getting ready for Matthew's big brother when he comes around, all right? So we hope and we ask the community to keep that aware. There are people who still need help. There's people who are still dislocated after all these months. And, you know, have a happy thought and try to help any way you can, because there are people who are still recovering. All right. Well, let's cut for messages, because our guests for today are going to be Floyd Phillips from Lincolnville Museum. Give him a hand. That is not an easy job. We have Kyle Goodwin, who is a glass carver. And our musical guest, I call her a poet with a guitar, Chelsea Sadler. You, my friends, are very lucky. So let's cut after these messages and come back with these guests. Thank you.
Our ingredients are mostly natural. It's palm oil, coconut oil, olive oil. We put cocoa butter, shea butter, and real silk in our soaps. Also, it's something that's pleasing to the eye and you enjoy using it. Come visit us at Antoinette's Bathhouse.
Call me down from the gallows and clothe me in leather and lace. I have seen just enough to know I will not see a better day. Lay me down in the meadow, far from where I was raised, where the lilies bloom and the girls all dance, though the band don't play. Yeah, my sword round my back, the battle drum starts to speak. This must be the darkest morning these eyes have ever seen. With nothing left to own, they are coming to steal my queen. Soldiers march, blood on blood, men that were once like me. Will carve me down from the gallows and clothe me in leather and lace. I have seen just enough to know I will not see a better day. Lay me down in the meadow, far from where I was raised, where the lilies bloom and the girls all dance, though the band don't play. Past the gates, and the archers raised their bows. They whispered secrets to my bride and set fire to my home. But traitors will be forgiven, 'cause I see just what you see. And I would sell all my honor as well for just a taste of beauty. Bury me in black, have the devil take my grave. I don't wanna work no more, I just wanna rest in place. And I've been down upon my knees, Lord, I've been off the war. And it ain't death that troubles me anymore, my girl. Carve me down from the gallows and clothe me in leather and lace. I have seen just enough to know I will not see a better day. Lay me down in the meadow, far from where I was raised, where the lilies bloom and the girls all dance, though the band don't play.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
In her special way, and I just have to say, in my life, I love that woman, 'cause she's more than I deserve, and she gets me where I live. I'll give all I have to give. I'm talking about that hummingbird.
Yo te traigo esta bomba puertorriqueña. Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de toda parte de Puerto Rico.
We're back, people. And we are with Floyd Phillips. It is wonderful to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Thank you so
to have you on
much.
the show. Wow. For those who don't know, Floyd Phillips and his wife Gail are the ones behind that Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center. They're the ones that are trying to get this place to really rev those engines. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Floyd. Where are you from? Where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's on the banks of the Black Warrior River. And that's the home of the famous Stillman College and the University of Alabama.
All right. Do you still call that home?
Not really. My home now is St. Augustine. I've been here since 1998 when I retired from a career in insurance in South Florida. I operated an Allstate office over 30 years in Miami, Florida.
Oh, wow. And so how did you get in the museum business?
Well, that's an interesting story, Jorge. And really what happened with me is I was called in as a business consultant to see whether or not a deal that was being put together and proposed by a developer out of Atlanta was making to the board of directors at the time. And with the input that I was able to offer the board of directors, they said, we like what you bring to the table. Would you consider just attending some of our meetings? So I agreed to do so. And one day they said, would you consider becoming a board member? And I agreed to do so. And the next thing I knew, the president decided to step aside, and I was appointed, elected unanimously to become the leader of the museum.
Oh, is it I don't know, when I look at museums, it looks like it's hard work. I mean, there are so many details in a museum. Is that so with the Lincolnville Museum?
Well, I would have to say that it depends upon your definition of work. My definition of work is love made visible. And that's exactly how I look at what I do at the museum. It has become an intense passion of mine. And I believe that if you enjoy what you do, you don't ever have to go to work a day in your life. I love what we do there. As you know, it's an African American museum. We are there to teach the history of this region, not just Lincolnville, but this region. This is the only place in the world where one can go and learn over 450 years of African American history in this region.
How long has the African influence been in this part of the world?
In excess of 460 years. We have documentation indicating that there were black men here when the Spaniards came to this country.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow, and what other great things would you find in the archives of the Lincoln Museum?
Well, we have what we call the backstory. You see, I like the backstory. I used to tell the children, my children, that as I attempted to get certain principles across to them, you have to listen very carefully, because if you're not careful, you might learn something. We have several artifacts that are of great interest. One, I think is most famous perhaps would be the Ray Charles piano. The Ray Charles piano is a piano that was played by many famous artists who came through St. Augustine. But the one that's most famous was Ray Charles, one who was a student at the School for the Deaf and Blind. We have
but you had an exhibition of black cowboys that I thought was super.
Yes, that exhibition was there until the 28th of the last month, and it was removed. It was there from January through the 28th. And one of the things I'll tell you about that particular exhibit is that one day we had 125 school children in the museum, and of course we had to divide them into groups. And I happened to be the one who did the presentation of the Black Cowboy group. And if you can imagine, a group of youngsters sitting in a semicircle, and they're all looking at me. I'm sitting in my chair, and my question to them was, how many of you have ever seen a black cowboy? And of course, one little timid hand went up, and I said, well, you're all looking at one. And they smiled, and I said, you see that cowboy hat there? And you see those boots right there? I said, those boots and that hat, they're 35 years old. Matter of fact, I was wearing that hat and those boots when I met my wife, Gail, who is my companion in the museum. And right about that time, one of the kids looked at me and said, you have big feet. And of course I said, if you keep growing, and you will, your feet are going to be the same size as mine. And my feet used to be the same size as yours. Of course, they thought that was hilarious. But I said, let me tell you how I became a black cowboy. One day my daughter, when she was about your age, came home from school, and she said to me, Dad, I want you to buy me a horse. And I said, Kim, where on earth would we put a horse? And she said, well, what do you think? She said. One kid said, well, in my bedroom. Another one said, in the backyard. One said, in the barn. I said, you got to remember, we lived in Miami. We had no barn. And finally, one little boy said, in the garage.
Like a car, yeah.
Which is exactly what Kim said. A few weeks later, I called my daughter, Kim, who still lives in Miami, with that question. I said, Kim, do you remember when you wanted me to purchase you a horse? And you said, I told you, where would we keep a horse? And your answer was, and of course she did not remember. And when I told her you said, in the garage, she thought that was hilarious. But 3 months later, I purchased a horse for Kim. And about 6 months later, I purchased a second horse from someone you would readily recognize. We purchased that horse from Jack Nicklaus, the golfer, whose daughter was going away to the University of Florida for school. And Kim became a wonderful rider. We used to ride in the Orange Blossom parades in Miami, and we would ride each day. It was a great opportunity for me to bond with my daughter. My son, however, hated the horse. He did not like horses.
He wasn't born for a cowboy.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to talk to you about is, and I had some conversation with you before, and what I found out is you have this great love for Africa. And
yes.
You've traveled there.
Yes.
And you're headed back there somehow.
Yes. We have made several different trips to Africa. We have visited South Africa, we've visited Namibia, Zimbabwe, Ghana, I visited Botswana. Okay. And there's an opportunity in November where we might have an opportunity, we might be able to make a trip to South Africa again as part of the museum's celebration of the Nelson Mandela celebration there.
Wow. When you go to places like Africa and working in an African American museum, are you looking for pieces of art or history?
Yes, always. Always. We're always looking for these things. When we were in Zimbabwe, we went to a village where they have gathered a lot of the artists, sculptors who have put together their works, and these works are displayed and sold all over the world. If you visit the Atlanta airport, there's a corridor there where you have many representations of these world-renowned sculptors who have their work displayed there. Recently, a potential benefactor to the museum has made available, is considering making available to the museum one of these sculptures that weighs about 800 pounds. So hopefully I'll be able to come back to report to you that we have it in the museum, and it is an absolute awesome sculpture made by one of the sculptors from Zimbabwe.
Wow. Well, don't call me on the phone and say, hey, Jorge, could you help me lift something? Probably I won't be home on that day. But here's another thing that a lot of people aren't aware, that the Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center, that's the magic word there at the end, I mean, I've seen some incredible jazz bands at your place. I've seen plays. I've seen lectures, one on Stetson Kennedy, which was very good. I mean, there's a lot of happening there. Just walking in a place and looking at artifacts is not just what you do.
Well, this is true. In fact, we have visitors who come in from all over the world and locally who are just amazed at what we do there. As you said, we do the plays, we do lectures, we have an outstanding intern program. We have a partnership with the University of Florida, which is a part of the Samuel Proctor Oral History program. And we have two doctoral students who are working with us. One is an anthropologist, and the other one is a sports history doctoral student.
Wow.
We currently are in the process of formalizing a relationship with Flagler College. We've had 4 different professors of history who have come over and brought their students, and they are just amazed at the work that we are doing there at the museum. We have a potential partnership with Edward Waters College out of Jacksonville. We are in negotiations right now with Wilberforce University out of Ohio.
You guys are
to have interns come to us. We have an agreement with a young lady who heads up a program at Boston University to do some collaborative writing. So there are so many opportunities. And of course, part of our mission is to develop an intern program that will be recognized and respected worldwide. And we'll have so many interns who want to come here that they'll have to take numbers.
Well, we've run out of time, Mr. Phillips, and I thank you so much, because I go there a lot. And I think what you guys are doing is just spectacular, spectacular.
Thank you so much.
All right. And that's for you to take home. That is your souvenir, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll be back after these messages.
At Martinez & Associates, we can help you with many things. Number 1 is income for life throughout your retirement, which is very important. Number 2 would be Medicare choices, which are very confusing. Number 3 is a legacy for your loved ones. And finally, keeping you independent throughout retirement. My name is Tuli Martinez. Call this number y hablamos español.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
We're back after messages. And we're with Kyle Goodwin. And for those who don't know who Kyle is, I discovered Kyle a couple of years ago, and he is one of those rarities. He's a glass carver is one of the terms. And nice to have you. Nice to have you on. And Are there any other terms for glass carver? that people-
Sandblaster, etcher, glass etcher,
Wow.
glass play person,
And how,
wounded person by glass. all
a
kinds of
wounded by
things, yeah.
glass. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Then you become the carving instrument. But the question is, you're from Florida, aren't you?
I am.
You were born where?
St. Petersburg, Gulf Coast.
Okay, Gulf Course. And how did you end up in St. Augustine?
Boredom. But besides that, it's a cool town.
Yeah.
Yeah. St. Pete's just overcrowded.
Yeah. Very busy, that part of the world.
Atlantic's got a little more activity. This is a neat place. It's genuine in my opinion. Whereas most of Florida is just so overdone and just it's corporate.
Right.
Whereas this place hopefully holds on to what it's got for a while longer. It's
Okay.
a nice town.
Let's put one of your carvings here on the. Let's put that one there up here.
This is the largest barrel wave I've ever made. So this thing took about.
This is a wave for those of you looking out there.
It took about 45 hours to make, and a lot of these will crack in the process. I have some that are upwards of 60, 70 hours to make, but yeah, it's my biggest one so far, so kind of proud of that.
That's beautiful. Now, how did you say I want to carve glass?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the things that's just like life just kind of takes steps. Next thing you know, you're like, I'm really into this thing. You just find yourself doing it. It's. So I've thought often like how I even got to that point. As a kid, I always drew, and then I saw carved glass somewhere, and I found a guy that just randomly was able to show me.
Give you like a little crash course?
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes. He showed me, here's the tools, go. And then I just kind of like, the next thing I was like, I couldn't stop. Because the thing with glass is you can constantly learn. You can constantly grow.
Now, is this a special glass?
No.
Or is this the glass you kind
It's
of
a lot
see
of,
everywhere?
you could say it's a repurposed glass. It's a lot of recycled and green. It's kind of a green art that I'm doing, at least in this sense, because I can take a tabletop and now convert it into this kind of thing.
Oh, my Lord.
And, these are all copyrighted because it's a process I've developed with the waves at least. The carving is not so much. That's the common thing.
We'll show that in a minute. Yeah.
I get details a lot of people don't. But this is just one of those things you woke up, I woke up at night just going, I can do this somehow. And I just kind of.
And that's one thing I notice about you. You're really big into the detail.
Yeah, I like details. Well, since I was a little kid, I would spend hours drawing eyeballs. It's like the little tiniest part of eyeballs. And like these castles with the figures all over the place, sword fighting and different stuff.
We'll get you a psychiatrist. We'll talk about this later. Yes.
I was lonely.
Yeah. So now, how do you get the blue color on it?
I paint.
You paint it?
Yeah,
What kind of paint?
It's special glass paints, and I use some lacquers and different, just kind of what kind of feels like it suits at that point. But I've got some mainstays, airbrushing, some spray paints I use. But this is like a 5-step process to get to the wave, at least. And then the wave, or the painting part is...
This is probably 24 inches.
Close to that, yeah.
Close to that. Now, what's the largest
well, the tallest I can get, because my kiln, I'm limited. The kiln
is the oven.
Yeah, it's a big oven, like a big, where you cook a lot of turkeys. That can go up to like 2,500 degrees. So I can only go so high because of the depth of it. Eventually one day maybe I'll build one that's as big as this room, and I can make waves you can walk into. That's kind of a dream.
So your tool is like a torch that sprays sand.
Well, for the sandblasting, yeah, it's more like a giant airbrush with a ton of air pressure behind it.
And I saw your thing. You're
Right.
covered. You look like a guy who's going to go pull melted aluminum out of a furnace.
Or like somebody that walks over like lava or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got oxygen that comes in. Because if you're just sitting there, and I've got a 10 by 10 room that I'm in, it's just dust. So if you just sit there and breathe, you'll die. So I have the full suit on. I've got this hood that I can kind of barely see out of.
That's the other thing. How do you see what you're doing if you're in a sandstorm?
I'm like wrenching to find that little edge left where I can kind of poke and then I keep blasting.
Oh.
Yeah, well, you can change the lens, but eventually, but without that, I couldn't do the work I'm doing.
Right.
And so I don't have the easiest job, the cleanest job. It's a pretty ridiculous job, really, but I'm addicted to it, I just have to keep doing it.
Wow. Let's bring that let's take this one down. Let's bring that, I'll bring this one here. Bring that one right up here. It's not just waves that this man does. I want you to see that this is lit up. Look at this. This is beautiful.
Yeah, so I do a lot of these for people's homes and corporate stuff and just art pieces, whatever. So yeah, this can apply to a lot more stuff. I mean, I was doing work for Dunkin' Donuts for 2 years, supplying all their 6-foot panels and different stuff. So I mean, like this can apply to as commercial as you can get, or as artistic as you want
Right,
to think.
right.
So
as
it's all over the
extravagant as you'd like it to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Now, here's my question: is how common are oil painters, dime a dozen, sculptors of different kinds, but how common is to find people who work with glass?
There aren't a lot, and but it's still fairly well known. But the modern times, a lot of people use computer software to create the design. A lot of stock images. I draw everything by hand. I cut all my designs by hand because you have to make a stencil to keep the sand from hitting certain areas. So I'm doing everything by hand. And I've also got certain techniques to get all these little details and stuff. That a lot of
Yes,
people just
that's
don't.
where I say you're just look at the teeth. I mean,
Yeah,
and
so
even
that's just me from being a kid, where I just like to just focus on tiny little
I
things.
see your
and-
signature here in the front, right here. It says Kyle.
Yes, I'm always trying to develop new ways to just get more realism. And
So here, that's
make
my
new
other
stuff.
question. Are you still learning?
Always. You can never stop. That's one thing that keeps me engaged. Is that it's one of those things that you never can just be like, okay, I'm done. If that were the case, I probably wouldn't do it anymore. I like challenges. I like to have new stuff to do.
Right.
I had somebody contact me last night about doing some custom project. Like, well, I haven't done it, but let me see what I can figure out. And that's what's interesting. Glass is so it can be manipulated in so many different ways. Until you try, you don't know what it's capable of.
Right.
In my kiln sometimes I've got syrup that comes out.
Syrup.
But then it freezes in that position. Not freezes, but cools down. And but it was pouring, So it's like, well, what could I do with that? Like there's constant new opportunities. Like, so it's fascinating. Like I'll just sometimes sit in my studio and just kind of look at things and
Yeah. Now, are there pieces that you've done that have become very frustrating because they break or they don't bend the way you want? Because with
Sure.
that wave piece,
Well,
you've bended glass.
You were referring to Matthew. My studio took in 3 feet of water. So my kiln was mostly underwater. I spent, around $1,200 trying to repair this kiln. And I had a big order coming up, and half the waves were cracking because of certain things were not quite operating. And every time I would change one thing in the kiln to repair, something else would happen. And finally I realized it's just cursed. Matthew cursed my kiln. So fortunately I was able to find a kiln for sale nearby. I was able to buy it, because otherwise it'd take 4 weeks to build.
Because your order's back. You get back
They're
order.
hand
You're
made.
waiting and
well,
waiting
yeah,
and
well,
waiting.
me too. Plus my client, I had 2 weeks to get done. But anyway, so that was a period where I was just, I was freaking out.
Where's your client base?
Everywhere. Internet's awesome. Yeah.
Australia, New Zealand.
I don't do. I mean, international. The cost of shipping can be cost prohibitive. But I mean, like I've got 3 clients right now in California that I'm working on stuff.
All right.
These people I delivered 40 waves to. They're from Virginia doing a thing up in Ponte Vedra.
Right. Right.
So it's just random.
Wow.
And it's fascinating the fact that I've got stuff all over the world because of the internet.
Is there any artist you follow, or someone else who?
Oh, there's plenty.
You look at stuff to see what they're up to?
I mean, coming up, there were some guys I kind of looked at as sort of like mentors. Like this is who I kind of would like to be able to follow their footsteps.
Wow.
They're doing different work than me, but still, as an artist coming up, just like a videographer or somebody, like is this the right path? Am I able to make actual a living doing this? And then you said, oh, they're doing pretty well, then why can't I?
Right.
So it's good to see that reinforcement that you can actually make it happen.
Wow.
Because there's times, especially in the beginning, it can feel pretty lonely and scared.
I guess so, because you're working on your own, and I think everyone self-doubts themselves in whatever they do, whether they dance, whether they sing.
Yeah, how good am I?
Sometimes you get these interviews with these very famous people, and when they're really honest, there are these points where they say, I didn't know if I could do it. Yeah.
I don't know if this is really what I should be doing.
Right, right. And so my question is, how popular is this is this an art form that's typical in the West, or do you see some of it done in Asia or in Europe, or?
I don't know about the East so much, though. Actually, I sent a piece to Japan not too long ago. So, I think art is subjective anywhere you go.
Right.
Some people love it. Some people don't care.
Right.
So it's just
very true.
I don't think there's a demographic or a nationality that is into one thing or the other. It's just, you know, it's more the eye of what somebody, you know, what they're into.
I saw your yoga, the yoga
piece, yeah.
that piece was just, and I saw, not physically, but I saw on the internet the skeleton.
Yeah, it was sold recently.
Oh,
I would have loved to have brought that one because that's like
that
my
piece
pinnacle,
was
yeah,
like
with all the colors.
unbelievable.
Yeah, somebody bought that and it's gone, but I miss it. But it's yay, you know, that's why, you know, I can make something else.
Are there pieces you make and there's kind of a little pain of departing
That
from
skeleton
them?
piece.
Oh.
Yeah, because that was one, as I was drawing, I was going, there's no way I can pull this off. You know, I had such an image of what I wanted to be, and then it came out, and I was just like, that's awesome. You know, I was really proud of that. But then, you know, I had somebody come through, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll sell it.
That's,
you know,
that's funny.
I do this to make a living, so yeah, you can't deny it.
So here's my last question. Where do you see your art going? When you look at yourself down the road, you're still...
I have a constant progression, and then, you know, I think we talked before, I've got some different business ventures I'm trying to exploit as well, so no matter what happens, I'm always going to do this because I love it. I'm fortunate enough that I can actually make a living right now, and I live pretty well, and I have a lot of, you know, adventures and fun. But even if, let's say, I've acquired, you know, more money than I can handle, I will always
do this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it fascinates me.
Well, I will have you again because to see more, and I
right,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's great to have you.
I bought this piece for you.
You what?
A little piece. Yeah.
Here's my. I'm starting to collect Kyle Goodwin, and this is my first collection here.
Got his own little
Thank you.
piece.
Thank you very much. We'll be back after these messages with Chelsea Sadler. Thank you again, my friend.
Thank
you. That's your little souvenir here.
All right, thank you.
And it's not made out of glass. I'm so
That's
sorry.
all right.
Our ingredients are mostly natural. It's palm oil, coconut oil, olive oil. We put cocoa butter, shea butter, and real silk in our soaps. Also, it's something that's pleasing to the eye and you enjoy using it. Come visit us at Antoinette's Bathhouse.
In her special way, and I just have to say, in my life, I love that woman, 'cause she's more than I deserve, and she gets me where I live. I'll give all I have to give. I'm talking about that hummingbird.
Yo te traigo esta bomba puertorriqueña. Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de todas partes de Puerto Rico.
Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for messages. And we are with someone very special. We're with Chelsea Sadler. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
And as you know, she's a songwriter and she's a musician. Chelsea, where are you from originally?
Jacksonville, so not far from home.
Wow, you're a Florida person. Kyle Goodwin, who's before you, was a Florida person. I have so many
Sam
people.
Pacetti.
Sam Pacetti was here. Is also
recently here,
Amy Hendricks is almost a local girl.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people are not just in the community, but are here for a very long, long time.
I think when you grow up in Florida, you get very spoiled by the tropical climate and the beautiful views. And especially a town like this where everything is so romantically picturesque, it's a little difficult to find a place that tops it, which isn't already just condensed with masses of people.
Right. What I love of this city is like what I love of New York in the sense that you could step out and walk. You know, a lot of parts in Florida, you always have to be in a car.
Yes, that's true. This is one of the few towns where
you could just take
you can live in Lincolnville and you can walk.
Right. You live in Lincolnville. And
I do.
And tell me, have you ever lived outside of Florida?
Oh yeah, I have. Went to New Orleans and lived there for about on and off for about a year, and shortly after that began to travel. So lived on the road pretty much for about another 6 to 8 months. We did a U.S. tour, road trip, just a big circle around the United States, and then we flew to Europe. We traveled around Europe for a little while. So I lived on the road, which was very challenging, but also learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about other people, other places.
Was Europe interesting?
It was the most interesting,
really?
For sure.
Whereabouts in Europe were you?
Mostly we stayed in remote parts of Spain, southeast Spain and the Andalusian valleys. There are just these tiny little villages of probably about 300 to 500 people that are on the sides of mountains, and you travel by a mountain bus. You know, this huge charter bus is going all these mountains, and you're going up, and it's far ways down. And then you get to these places where the people are just isolated. You know, it's really incredible, and they're self-sustaining, and they do a lot of what it needs to be done themselves. A lot of the growing of the garden and making of clothes. And yeah, it's very cool.
Wow.
It's very cool.
Did you play your guitar while you were there?
Oh yeah. I took a little travel-sized guitar. I didn't play as much as I hoped to, but I did play quite a bit. It's difficult to travel by bus for 10 hours and then you know, want to seek out these places to go play. It's kind of
it's difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah, it was easy to write. I definitely felt like it was easy to write, but it was hard to want to go find people to play for and say, hey, let me show you what I do. It was more letting that process happen organically made it more special.
Okay.
You know?
Now we know you play the guitar, but how did you end up with the guitar? Why didn't you end up with a big tuba?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I'm not a tubist, and I'm not a drummer or anything that requires too much work. Because though I've been working on them, they're not they're not as big as I'd like them to be. You know. As far as the guitar, though, my dad, I grew up with my dad playing. Just around the house, typically behind a closed door in private.
Was he good?
He was very good. Okay. Much better finger style player than I am, for sure. He did a lot of Travis picking. He did a lot of Doc Watson type of playing, and he was just incredibly talented. I mean, vocally and musically, and growing up underneath that, I feel like I was kind of a daddy's girl, you know, and just really wanted to do a lot of the things that he did. And it was easy to get guidance and support and have my questions answered. And both my mother and my dad just supported me from the very beginning.
Wow.
You know. Wow. And my dad told me, he's like, listen, you're not going to make any money. He's like, but as long as you're happy, he's like, just be happy.
Oh, wow. So. That's super. That's great support. But when you look at your music, what you play, you're very popular, very loved in this community. How could I box your music? How could I say you're this or you're that? Or can I do that?
I don't know
genre.
If you could. You know, I play a lot of blues, but I also play a lot of folk, and I've got a couple of tunes that I guess you would call like pop jazz or something.
Poppy jazz.
Poppy jazz. I try to not kind of brand myself into one, like I'm a blues player or I am a folk songwriter. I like to do a lot of different stuff, and I don't think I'll ever stop being attracted to different genres.
Right.
So maybe perhaps like a backwoods blues rock, I'm not sure. I'll work on that.
Because when I look at you play, and when I see you play here and play here, I'd have to define you, if you disagree, but I see you more as a poet using a guitar as its pen.
I love you. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. I love lyrics. I've always been very lyrically driven, and I've always been very inspired by great songwriters and great poets.
Who would be those people that you admire when you look at people who've influenced you?
When I look at someone's entire body of work, from start to finish, or if they're still progressing, I really love Leonard Cohen a lot. He's the man who wrote the song Hallelujah.
Yeah.
But not just that song. He's got so many tunes that are just unparalleled, unmatched as far as as far as my taste in
Right.
songwriters. Of course, Bob Dylan is
course.
epic and a staple.
Yeah, Joni Mitchell. Is that
Joni
right?
Mitchell, absolutely, not just lyrically, but the way that she wrote her music. She played in a lot of just crazy tunings and would make up chords, just make them up, you know.
Right.
And so it's very hard to replicate Joni Mitchell's style. It's very
It's
difficult.
almost like in tango where they say there isn't such thing as a wrong step. It's a new step.
It's a new step. Yeah, exactly.
That's a wonderful way to approach
I
it.
have to remember that when I'm dancing because I'm terrible.
Yeah. but when you look at when you write a song, I mean, does it all come as like or
Sometimes, but not. Sometimes it'll take 5 years. I'll have one line for 5 years, and I'm like, I know I'm going to use that. I'm going to use you. Just wait. And you have to be very patient with songs.
Well, Cohen was like that too.
Because if you force
It'd take him a long time.
Exactly. If you force it, you can feel it's not right.
Would you say you're patient or impatient?
Impatient, definitely.
In what way?
But I'm still learning.
That you want the song now? I
I
need to
do.
finish?
I want it now because I love new material. I love completing something. I also do woodworking, which when Kyle was talking about glass, I can relate certainly a lot because the process of it is ever changing and you're constantly learning. And I feel that way about any type of creative endeavor someone takes on, whether it's glass or woodworking or music. It is a constant journey. And to me, that's the most important lesson.
Would you say music for you is therapeutic and healing at the same time?
I'd say it is for a lot of people. Yeah.
Do you
Absolutely.
think music heals then? Is a healing force?
I think that music is healing. I think that we have the ability to do things with our bodies that we're not quite
aware of
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm one of those believers. I definitely feel like we are self-healers, all of us. So we just have, and I think that's what was so amazing about living in Spain, waking up and having to chop the wood in half, put the wood in the wood-burning stove, light it, put the water on, get the water from the river, and then put the water on, and then you make coffee. Like then you have your coffee. Where most people wake up and they just press a button and they have
Put
coffee.
one of those little pods in there.
And I feel when I was in Spain, that was certainly the most alive that I felt, feeling this extreme satisfaction from every little process, and the more sheltered and technology driven, I feel like we become further away, removed from our primal capabilities.
From reality, I call it.
And I feel like that's the dreamer and that's the poet in me as well. That's always kind of like trying to find the roots of everything.
And the balance. Yeah. So where do you see your music going in the future? Well, what would you love to do in the future with your music?
A lot of people have these crazy extreme goals, like I want to play Carnegie Hall and I want to win a Grammy. I just want to be happy. I feel like I've already made it. I feel like I am so successful and so rich and wealthy, and the way that I can live my life and the way that I can inspire people, that to me is priceless. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm always going to write. I'm always going to record records. As far as trying to hit it big, I don't know if that's really my thing. I mean, I prefer a town of 300 people as opposed to New York City.
300,000, 3 million.
But to me, it's just kind of one of these things that I'm grateful for. I'm not looking to make millions of dollars off of it. I'm looking to just be happy.
So would you say you're happier playing the music or writing the lyrics?
I'm definitely happier writing as opposed to performing. I think that performing takes a different kind of energy than writing does.
Okay.
And I feel like when you're giving so much of the performance energy, it is very difficult to have enough left over to put into the creative process.
Yeah, I see writing as more this.
It's very inward.
And music is more that.
It's strange, yes.
Yeah.
It's a strange balance because you're playing 3-4 days a week and you get home and you're sweating and it's hot and you just need some water, and the last thing you kind of want to do is what kind of song would I like to write right now? But I've been fortunate enough to where I can take longer breaks than most people typically probably could.
It allows you to write and all that.
And it allows me to step away and write.
Would you play us something?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Well, when we come back, Chelsea Sadler.
Yo te traigo esta bomba puertorriqueña. Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de toda parte de Puerto Rico.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
And now, Chelsea Sadler.
Oh baby, I've been long gone by the time that the morning comes. And if you come chasing after me again, I swear I'm gonna grab my gun. Oh baby, I've been long gone, so far away from your lying tongue. And if you come chasing after me again, I'm running back to my family farm. Now my baby got me back once, and baby told me lies. That devil's heart hit me right between the eyes. Now baby, say I've been long, long gone. I'm heading way down to New Orleans to sing your siren song. Now baby, you know that I just can't stand to shut my mouth. And if you come chasing after me, I'm running back to my mama's house. Now my baby got me back once, baby told me lies. That was hard, hit me right between the eyes. Now baby, say I belong long gone. And if you come chasing after me again, I swear I'm gonna grab my gun. Well, baby, I've been long gone by the time that the morning comes. And if you come chasing after me again, I swear I'm gonna grab my gun.
That's our show, ending with excellence, of course. Stay tuned for our next show, and wonderful, just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.